Friday the 13th, March 2020. This will stand as the beginning of the new era, whatever that turns out to be. That was the day that the United States of America went into a massively destructive panic for no good reason. Since the middle of February, the coronavirus had begun to infect our thinking, and as we watched Italy turning itself off like an old building with a breaker box on every floor, all of us began to obsess about the COVID-19 supergerm. And now, as we approach the last week of April, it feels like the country we love is itself in the ICU on a ventilator. And we are all preparing for the worst. America is, as always, breaking down into two groups: those who are ready to call this the new normal and pull the plug on our freedoms, and those who are turning their frustration into anger and calling out for extreme resuscitation measures. How the hell did we get here? Well, the story is long and complicated, but if I had to pick a single ingredient without which none of this could ever have happened, it's this one: misinformation. Let's not sugarcoat it. We are where we are because of lies, going all the way back to Wuhan and the Chinese Communist Party and ending up in most state and county governments and even in the ranks of the one body we all turn to for truth, the National Coronavirus Task Force. Not the whole task force, of course, just the two people in it who we counted on to give us the straight truth from an unbiased scientific perspective. What started out as, and has largely been, an admirable nonpartisan group ended up committing the greatest sin of all. While we turned to them for unvarnished fact, they cooked the books and manipulated us. Weeks ago, I covered Anthony Fauci's lies about face masks and how he pretended that those masks could do us no good, and that the N95 mask was intended to be worn by infected people to stop them from infecting others.
Of confusion among people and misinformation surrounding face masks. Can you discuss that?
The masks are important for someone who's infected to prevent them from infecting someone else. Now, when you see people and look at the films in China and South Korea, whatever, everybody's wearing a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
He actually expected us to believe that, as if we hadn't been wearing these things on the job. As if we wore them to prevent dust from coming out of our lungs. As if we didn't know that the vent on an N95 mask is a one-way valve that makes exhaling easy, but forces us to inhale through the fibrous material and thereby trap all sorts of particulates. As if we didn't know that the number on the label referred to the percentage of stuff it trapped, 95%. He just flat out lied to us. I guess we're too stupid to ask why a mask would protect a nurse from water droplets full of danger, but would be counterproductive if worn by us. But it wasn't just Fauci. Dr. Deborah Birx was also taking the international platform given her by the president and handing us misinformation. Here she is several days ago admitting that all of the stats from the U.S., whether we get them from the CDC, Johns Hopkins, Worldometer, CNN, or Birx herself, were spun to make this novel coronavirus appear more deadly than it really is.
There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that.
When somebody dies of anything while they also have COVID-19, that death is reported as a COVID death. She admitted it. Last Thursday, here in the ghost town known as Los Angeles, Barbara Ferrer, the physician in charge of LA County's COVID response, said this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Supervisor Barger, and to the entire Board of Supervisors. To update you on our current status, I'm really sad to report 55 additional deaths today. This is the highest daily total we've reported after reporting high totals both yesterday and the day before. And it really reflects the devastating power of COVID-19. 43 of the people who passed away were over the age of 65, and 39 of the people who were over the age of 65 who died had underlying health conditions. 9 people who died were between the ages of 41 and 65, and all of these people had underlying health conditions. This brings the total number of deaths to 455 in LA County, and our mortality rate is now for COVID-19 is now 4.2%.
She stood there and told us that in LA County, we have a 4.2% case fatality rate, which means that of those who have contracted the virus, more than 4 in 100 will die from it. This is a complete and total lie, and she knows it. Maybe that's why she has so much trouble getting the words out. It's not just that she doesn't know the death ratio. She knows that she can't know the death ratio. In order to get a percentage, you need both a numerator and a denominator. All through March, my liberal friends complained that they couldn't get tested, that when they went to a hospital or urgent care, only those who were symptomatic received a test. Meanwhile, we learned that many people who are infected never know they have it because they are asymptomatic. So if only those with symptoms were allowed to be tested, all of the data collected was inaccurate because asymptomatic cases and people who'd had it and recovered were not in the equation. Not just inaccurate, but inaccurate in the direction of overestimating the case fatality rate. A lot. Here's a medical professor and researcher at Stanford University explaining the issue. It's a short clip.
The key thing to know about the virus and how much we know about it is that we actually don't know how many people have been infected. It's a very strange thing to say, given how much data is floating around. But it sounds like it's a remarkable thing, but it's actually just a plain scientific fact. And that has to do with the fact that the testing for the virus has focused on people who actively have the virus. The tests have been used everywhere. That's what it does. It looks and sees if the RNA for the virus is in you, and if it's in you, then it's positive. If it's not in you, it's negative, and then that's that, right?
So when we talk about not the fatality rate, what is it called? The rate of lethality?
Yeah,
that's a ratio. It's a mathematical ratio in which the numerator is, very sadly, the number of people who die.
Right.
And the denominator is those who have been tested, right?
So that's the measured case fatality rate.
All right, the measured case fatality rate.
And the problem is that denominator does not count the people who got infected and were recovered.
But he didn't just sit idly by. He put together a study right there in Santa Clara County, one of California's hotspots. They tested 3,000 people for coronavirus antibodies, which are present in somebody who has had it whether they knew it or not. The study showed that the number of people who have had the virus in Santa Clara County is maybe 50 times higher than has been reported. That would be the denominator, 50 times higher. Therefore, the case fatality percentage is much, much, much lower. But wait, Monday, USC came out with a similar study. So now Barbara Ferrer is forced to admit what any thinking person knew, that all her previous case fatality estimates were nonsense. The number of cases in LA County is not 14,000, but somewhere between 221,000 and 442,000. You compare the 600 deaths to these numbers. So it turns out that when you don't cook the books in order to scare the population into sheep-like compliance, you have a virus that is just about as likely to kill you as the common flu, perhaps less likely than the strain we had in the 2017-2018 season, which hospitalized 900,000 Americans and killed 61,000, including a larger ratio of young people than the coronavirus does. Without this intentional tilting of numbers in order to frighten us, we would not have 22 million unemployed people who don't know when they'll work again. We wouldn't have tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of businesses facing bankruptcy. We wouldn't have added trillions more dollars to the already ridiculous deficits that we are soon to leave to our children in the form of debt. And we wouldn't have seen an unprecedented erosion of our constitutional rights. We're almost done here. Please share this video with your friends. Let's end with this hot mic clip from the White House Monday.
What's up, Barry?
All right, man.
What do you know, baby?
You can take out the mask, Doug. The
Case fatality rate's like 0.1 to 0.3 according to USC.
Is it really? That's reassuring.
USC.
Everybody here's been vaccinated anyway.
USC and LA County Public Health come out with a study. They found that there are 7,000 cases in California, but they really believe that there are anywhere from 221,000 to 442,000 people who were infected.
Really?
Yeah.
So that makes it 0.1 to 0.3.
Did he say that everybody there has been vaccinated? With what? Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.